What's up, everybody? Welcome into another episode of the Auburn Blitz podcast here on this Thursday morning. And we're glad that you are joining us or will be joining us throughout the day whenever it is that you're able to tune us in. Randy, good to see you here to start this Thursday morning. We got a lot that we want to talk about. Obviously, Auburn knocking off LSU last night on the road. It's another W. 19-1 start for the Auburn men's basketball team. That's tied for best 20-game start in program history. So again, another milestone. I know this ties a mark in program history, but yet again, another milestone here for the Auburn Tigers. And glad that we continue to find ways to get it done. And we got a lot that we want to dive into, and I got a lot that I want you to add this morning before you're able to get away from us. But Randy, hey, look, you take a win on the road whenever you get it.
Anytime you can beat LSU in anything. You know, when you come into Georgia, Alabama, and LSU, and I don't care what sport we're in, but if Auburn wins, especially on the road, you've got to mark it up as a great win. And, you know, the way that Auburn scored 87 points as poorly as we shot the basketball in the down in the post last night. I mean, Janai ends up with 26, but he was 2 of 10 to start that basketball game. Right. So he gets 26 and 16 and doesn't play as well shooting as we'll see him down the stretch. And, you know, let's start there, Brett. That's the beauty of Janai Broome. 11 offensive rebounds last night. He is not some dynamic athlete out there on the court, but he is just a brilliantly smart basketball player as far as body position and finding ways to get to shots from unorthodox angles with that left hand, which is unorthodox itself. And he can just score it. Reminds me a lot, and I'm hopeful that this kind of plays its way out in the NBA, of Zach Randolph, you know, who has had a tremendous NBA career. Kind of the same type of athlete coming out of Michigan State, Brett. Can step outside and shoot it and have a little bit of a perimeter and mid-range game. But that left hand, unorthodox, big, strong body frame doesn't take some great leaping ability to get buckets. And right now, I think he's put his name right back there in the mix for National Player of the Year. Would be the first for Auburn. Go ahead and start casting that statue to go out in front of Auburn Arena with the way that this season is going. Just got to keep him healthy and be hopeful that down the stretch he plays some of his best basketball.
Yeah, I think that's a good place to start. We've had to have him. Like you said, it wasn't a pretty start for him. It was just an odd start to the game. You missed your first 10 shots, and you got 9 offensive rebounds. I don't know if we were trying to pad our rebounding stats. It worked, but we couldn't make a shot. And, you know, the thing is, and I said this last night, LSU is just a bad team. We didn't look dialed in last night. We looked disinterested. If we'd have had that effort early against a better team, we would have been in trouble. But I think you're going to hit these lulls. You're going to hit. I mean, it's a long marathon season. I mean, you got 18 of these grueling conference games, half of which are on the road, and you aren't going to be on top of your game every night. You're not going to get up. I mean, you just had an emotional win against Tennessee at home, where it was game day. The environment was probably, you know, like you've never seen before. If you're one of Auburn's players, and they played in a bunch of great environments, but that one I've heard Saturday may have rivaled any that's been in Neville Arena. And then you look at coming on the road to a team that had won one conference game in LSU. And look, it's human nature, man, to just go, well, and they aren't very good, because LSU had a chance to really run the lead up early in that game. They couldn't do it. Their players are slower. You could tell right out of the gate it was going to have to be a really sloppy effort for us to lose, and we kind of walked our way to an 87-74 win. But I've got some concerns. Bruce Pearl's got some concerns. You know, he talked about it in the post-game press conference. Randy, I want to start with our guards. Our guards have not played well offensively. Okay, I'm not going to say defensively, because Auburn's only the most points Auburn's given up this year to Duke, and that was the one loss that we had. So, you know, when you look at it from that standpoint, Auburn defensively They don't allow very many points. They're a top 25 defense in the country when it comes to scoring efficiency. But I'm a little concerned with the production out of our guard play. And I don't know if it's because we're expending extra energy on the defensive side of the ball and, we're not getting clean shots, or maybe we're a little bit more tired than – but when you look down, I mean, Denver Jones has struggled for the last 4 games scoring. He had 9 points. He was 3 of 9 shooting. Miles Kelly was the bright spot last night. He was 5 of 10 with 13 points. But it was to the point where we even saw a JP Pegues sighting for 3 minutes. That's, to me, I couldn't believe my eyes, because he hasn't been getting any minutes even in cleanup. And then early in that game, JP Pegues was brought in, and I don't know, what kind of message that was. Tahad Pettiford was 4-12. I mean, he had 10 points. But you got to have a little bit better production offensively from your guards. You can't rely on Janai Broome to score 26 to 30 points every game and bail you out.
Well, those of you that have listened to Brett and I broadcast over the years, I'm probably not talking as much to you as I am some of the new people that are finding us on our podcast. But something that I've always said to you, Brett, and was a comment that my old man used to make to us when I would complain about the officials or complain about being on the road. And something that's always stuck with me is, if the games are going to be that close, if you're going to have that close to games, quit making excuses. I mean, when they can go both ways, don't make excuses that it's officials or it's something wrong. Now, when you've got a really good team, this is another thing that he would always say. When you got a really good team, you find ways to win, and sometimes it's ugly. And in basketball, when you play as many games as you play in basketball, you're not going to be at your peak all the time.
No.
But you hope you can get your peak when it's needed. And so far, Auburn hasn't played some pretty games on the road. But again, look down at that score at the bottom of the graphics you have made, Brett. We scored 87 points on the road, and you just threw out some statistics that tell you that if Auburn would have played, let's just say shoot it to the level that we have the majority of the year, Auburn would have scored 106 to 110 points last night.
Right.
So you're still getting 87, and there's a lot of SEC squads that are struggling getting to 70 consistently. So that's the beauty of this team. We don't have to play at our best, but we can win basketball games. And night in and night out, you're not going to always get your best. And I think Bruce Pearl said that perfectly. But we've got to make shots through harm down in the post. We missed a lot last night. The officials do allow a lot of banging with Janai down in the post, but he creates a lot of that banging. So, I mean, if you wanted to call it,
and he's not 100%.
Each and every time that Janai is getting that big body into a defender down in the post, he'd go to the free throw line and shoot 18 shots a game. So I get it a little bit. But I think as we get moving down the stretch and we get him back to 100% and we get, Chaney on a nice little run here at the end of the year, and Tahad Pettiford just a few more games in and get his sea legs under him, I still think we're going to be fine. I mean, it's a 19-1 start with a lot of room to go to hit the ceiling on this team. And that's the comment I was trying to make. I mean, this team can win when we're not at our best. And an awful lot of teams over mine in your lifetime at Auburn hasn't been able to say that.
No, I mean, I think I said it too early, when we started, that from an emotional standpoint and from a hype standpoint, you can't be at your peak, the words you used, all the time. And again, coming off an emotional win at home against Tennessee, you go on the road to a team that's at the bottom of the conference. Look, we all say we don't look at records and we don't look at teams and stuff, but that's BS. Everybody on Auburn's team knew who they were playing last night. They were playing a team that won one SEC game and was the only team in the SEC that didn't have a quad one win going into last night. Still don't have one. Thank goodness it wasn't us. That was their first one. But as a player and as the number one team in the country, you go, man, we can go down there and kind of take a night off a little bit. Now, Bruce Pearl, as a coach and a coaching staff with him, and they press, don't take a night off, keep the same mentality as you would if Florida's coming in here or whatever. You can't. It's easier said than done. So I'm not saying that we need to panic or anything. That's not what I'm talking about at all. You're right. 87 points in a very maligned effort. I mean, the game was kind of boring, and it was, again, because LSU, frankly, just isn't very good. I mean, I'm not taking a shot at their players, but their players aren't even on the same planet. Their roster, they got one guy that I would take on our team, and he had 24 points last night, and he's a good player, and he's, again, really all LSU has right now, and I'm talking about Carter. He had 24 last night and was very efficient for them, 7 of 9 shooting, and they've relied on him a good bit to score the basketball this year. But look, you win and you move on. Auburn's got to turn the page quickly. They've got to go to Ole Miss. Randy, if you want to look around the SEC last night, Ole Miss grinded out a tough game at home. Going back to what you just mentioned, teams are finding it hard to get to that 70 mark. 72 was good enough to win a game last night at home for Ole Miss, 72-69 over Texas. So it's a very grinded out type conference. And you look down and the two teams that are really scoring the basketball better than anybody, well, you could probably add Florida into this mix, are Auburn and Alabama. And Alabama's leading all of us right now. Alabama's consistent. I think, I can't remember the stat. I'll have to pull it up. Had somebody send it to me. And, you know, it's not breaking news, but it's something that we're going to have to deal with when we know we go to Tuscaloosa. But Alabama has now scored 85 points or more in 6 straight SEC road games, which is the longest single streak by any SEC team in any team in SEC history. So this is they're starting to find their mark a little bit, like we saw them find last year, where they consistently pushed the envelope of 100 points every night.
Well, they're deep, you know, and Sears can go for 0 and they still get to 90. And Aiden Holloway's playing out of his mind, shooting the basketball as well as anybody in the conference. And tip your hat to him, because Auburn struggled getting him to that level last year, but he's gotten to that level. But back to Auburn, I wouldn't trade him. I'll take Todd. I think Todd by the end of the year, from a physicality standpoint, from just an overall player standpoint, I'd rather have Todd over Aiden Holloway. They've got it just to go back to Alabama a bit. They got an odd dynamic going on with Mark Sears.
It's weird, now, man. It's something going on for sure.
Does that split the team, or does that help the team in that the players know that Nate Oates is not going to put up with it? Same as Bruce Pearl, man. That's the beauty of Bruce Pearl to me. He holds everybody accountable. You either play at a certain level of effort or you go sit over there with him. And he has no problem jumping anybody. And that was always one really key thing that I thought led to all the success that Nick Saban had. You know, he'd be up 40 points, Brett, and A.J. McCarron would throw some pass that he didn't feel like he needed to in the middle of the field, and it'd be a scolding over there on the sideline like you never witnessed. And you know, right. Great leaders can do that, and they have a way to be able to communicate that. And we're just very fortunate at Auburn that we got one of the very best at that, because he emotionally and effort-wise coaches as hard as anybody is expected to play with him. Would you agree with that, Brett?
Oh, yeah.
And so that goes a long way. So we'll see how this plays out for Alabama, but we're the 2 best teams in the conference. Can Kentucky and Florida beat Auburn or Alabama? Sure. I don't think Tennessee can. I just think I think Auburn played terrible. Scored 53 points at home, and I know Tennessee's really good defensively, but that's not a team that I watch to think that they're a national championship contender. I'd be more scared to play Florida and Kentucky down the line than I would Tennessee.
Well, you know, I'm going to say this, and this may be a theory, as Jerron talked about Janai Broome, and I want to bring this up or down to you, Jerron. With Broome limping around, do you think that'll cost us down the stretch, even though he's playing amazing? I've got a couple of theories on that, and you're right. Obviously, the coaching staff and the medical staff feel like he's good to go. And if he weren't good to go and he weren't good to have the minutes that he's putting in, they wouldn't put him out there. I don't think you would be jeopardizing him right now at the end of January, first part of February, knowing that you're going to have him if you're going to make a run in March. So that's that. So I want to go back to Janai Broome making his return in the Tennessee game. Now, again, we look at the stat line, and you had to have him, and you had to have all 33 minutes, and you had to have his double-double and everything that went with it. But our team had played almost 2 weeks without him prior to that. And they had been practicing without him. And a lot of guys, and when you bring a guy back, and again, this is just a theory of mine. You said that we played terrible offensively, and there's no denying that. It was not pretty. We couldn't shoot the ball, and I know a lot of that had to do with Tennessee because Tennessee still is a very highly ranked defensive ball club. They just struggle shooting the ball as well. So we kind of got sucked into their game. But what about trying to adjust back to getting him in the lineup? Now, guys, their role that they had for a week and a half had shifted back. And he had not been practicing regularly. He is in the game now. So maybe we're trying to readjust back to a lineup with Janai Broome in there and a Janai Broome getting 26 to 30 minutes a game. I don't know. That's just me speculating on why maybe we've seen a little bit of a downturn over the last 3 or 4 games or the last couple of games with Janai Broome coming back for the guards.
That's a great point. It's hard to deny that because the one thing that you said that is dead on is we don't win those 2 basketball games without Janai's effort down in the post unless somebody steps up to make that up. And it's not like the guys that are expected to step up still aren't getting minutes. Now, what you're expecting them to do is changing. Chaney Johnson being one,
right?
But still, they're getting a lot of minutes and still a lot of expectations around their play.
What's your thoughts on Chad Baker-Mazara right now? He was 3 of 12 last night.
Mm-hmm.
He's missing free throws. I mean, is there something? I had several people text me last night and they said that something just seems a little off with his game right now. He may be in a little bit of a funk. I don't know, but shots aren't falling. It looks like he's taking some wild shots, trying to draw fouls. I know Justin sent us a text last night, said, he's got to quit looking for fouls all the time. I don't know. I've just seen over the last 2 or 3 games maybe a shift in his game, and we've got to have that guy playing at a high level for us to have a chance.
Well, I think he's the X factor, and, players like that get motivated by emotions too, Brett. And so he's got to play with a certain edge. And Auburn fans at times don't like that edge. I tend to say you better not veer too far away from who you are and what got you there. And so I would say he's probably thinking about it a little bit. When he's shooting, even at the free throw line, it's almost he's a wonderful free throw shooter, but it's a little bit more of an aim than what we saw earlier in the year where it was a really clean release. And I think he'll get it back. I think you got to release him from the worry of officials watching the way that he reacts to things. And look, I don't want what happened in the NCAA tournament to ever happen again with him, because I do think he's the X factor. Yeah. But you also got to let him be him. And maybe we've pulled the reins off just a little bit, and I'm hopeful that he gets it back. But back to the point on Janai Broome, and I'll say this: Janai doesn't need to be a Chris Porter type of athlete to get his. No. He can semi-limp up and down the court and barely look like he's getting off the floor shooting the basketball. But he's so unorthodox, and his angles, the way that he gets shots off, and the way he uses that left arm and that shoulder to get into bodies of defenders makes him, Jerron, be able to do that a little bit more than some of your high flyers would that play down in the post. So it's worked out, and he's a tough kid, man. He keeps fighting through every issue that's thrown at him, and you can tell he is gimpy. There is no question that he wasn't going to get over this one as quick as we all hoped, but he's found his way back out on the court, and I would doubt. I don't feel good at all that we would have won against Tennessee no matter what. I just think the offense was just not up to the standard that we expect. Maybe we could have found a way to win on the road at LSU, but it sure is nice to have him, and I love to have him back in the talk for National Player of the Year. Look, not too often that you have someone at any of our universities that have it. Yeah. Has Alabama ever had a National Player of the Year? Basketball.
You're asking the wrong person, because
I don't feel like they have. Auburn.
No, I don't either. No, I don't think so at all. I don't. I mean,
so how often? We've had Heisman. We've had Heisman Trophy winners in our state, an awful lot of them. We hadn't had a National Player of the Year in basketball, so I know that's not what we're all after, but it's part of it. And it's part of the storyline around this team.
I
To
know
get
we
so
try
many
to say
eyeballs to it.
that. We say that kind of stuff, but we all know that putting a statue outside means something.
Oh, it'd be
I
awesome.
mean, dadgummit, man. I
Yes.
mean, again, somebody that's kind of grown to the point where he is, he worked his way into this into this
He got
status.
developed at Auburn University to this.
Well, we don't say that very much on the football side, do
No,
we?
we don't say it at
Well,
all. That's the problem with the football side. But we
right.
can say it with our Bowman and this staff, Stephen Pearl and Marquise Daniels, and keep going down the list of guys that are expected to develop players. And he was a good enough
Right.
player for Auburn to go out there and try to get him from a smaller mid-tier school. So I'm not saying that he wasn't already working, but Auburn's taking him to another level.
Justin said, thank goodness for Miles Kelly. More and more impressed with him each game. I've been impressed with Miles Kelly really since the Duke game. If you go all the way back to the Duke game, he comes out he's the guy that seems to be dialed in when the game starts. Like from outside, he wants the ball. He's gotten Auburn out to a decent lead in several games. That Duke game was one of them. I mean, he was kind of unconscious there early. He's already done that against some other teams as well. And he's carried Auburn in several games. If you want to go back and pull stat lines, he's kind of been the guy that saved Auburn in some of these closer games. But not only that, some other guys that want to talk about.
Well, let me hit on Miles real quick, just on that comment. The thing I like about Miles, though, is the way he carries himself from a leadership role to just have been on this team for 1 year. I watch his emotions out there on the court, Brett. He never gets too high, never gets too low. Is versatile on both offensive and defensive end. So if he switches on the defensive end and he ends up on a big, he's still strong enough and aggressive enough to be able to defend a big, but able to drive the basketball and get it to the bucket and get to free throw line. And of course, we know he's an assassin from outside. That's where he's going to make his money in the NBA if he's able to make it there. But what a get for Bruce Pearl. For Pegues to not have worked out, what a massive get to go get Miles Kelly, because I'm not sure where Auburn is without him, Brett.
I maybe have 3 or 4 losses without him.
I agree. I think that's how big that get was. Now, if Pegues would have worked out, you could have moved Denver back over to the 2, and you could have had a little bit of a different, rotation that you're seeing there. But without Pegues working out, Miles Kelly definitely has, and his ceiling is still higher than I think that we've seen so far. So he could be a 16 to 18 point consistently in a game once we get to the SEC tournament and the NCAA tournament.
Well, I'll bring Faith in, but Randy, I want to ask you another question. Good morning, Faith.
Good morning.
Look, what does it send to you, Randy, as far as a message with Ja'Kai Howard not getting any minutes last night? Because Bruce talked about Jaheim and Chris Moore, and Chris Moore's kind of always been that guy. And Chris Moore got in the game early because we were struggling. And when you see him come in there, I don't know if it's a comfort thing for our team, but you know what you're going to get with him, and he's going to hustle and he's going to go out there and get some rebounds for you and kind of settle you down a little bit. But Jaheim's getting better. Like his minutes not only his quality minutes when he's getting in the game. So building bench depth, building that, and Bruce Pearl talked about that last night, but we didn't see Ja'Kai again last night. You would have thought in a game like this would have been a good opportunity to try to work him in to the rotation, but didn't see him.
Well, I think Bruce Pearl's handling it exceptionally well on the back end. Just to say that he's an emotional 18-year-old. Bruce made mention in press conference, that I'm a grown man that's emotional, that doesn't handle things exactly the way that I want to all the time. So he's handling that well, but this is a number 1 ranked team, and it is a senior-laden team, Brett. And with that being said, you don't want to put any dynamic in the middle that could hurt this team overall. So I'm not sure how much more you're going to see of him this year. And does he hang on at Auburn? I'm hopeful. I think if anybody can keep him, it's Bruce Pearl. But enough's enough. When you got the gall to walk off the court, walk back in the locker room in the middle of a basketball game because you had one stretch of minutes that you weren't excited about, man, I don't care how old you can say you're 18, 19, or 12. If I had a 12-year-old on one my travel basketball team act like that, he'd sit over there for about 10 games. And so, that you can say that's tough love, but at a certain point, Ja'Kai needs that because he is a little rough around the edges at time out there. He's an unbelievable athlete, and he's one that I would love to see work out. And I think he's got Chris Porter-esque athleticism, and we need it. And we're definitely going to need it as these 10 seniors leave. But Bruce Pearl's he's gonna make him know that can't happen again. And I'll go ahead and step off, let Faith jump in right here, Brett, and we'll hit on over. I do want to talk about one of our sponsors right now, though, and that's Bunkers.
Yep.
Bunkers there on West Glen, great new sponsors of our programming. If you're hungry for lunch, go out to Bunkers, but take an appetite with you. Great food. You got the simulations that you can play there. Brett's been talking a lot about that, not only golf, but other things. A lot of the university heading over there. It's very easy. And you got 50 parking spots underneath the deck that makes it very easy to park. So our good friends over at Bunkers, we can't thank them enough. I'm here in Auburn right now trying to finish up a project that Lee Apparel and Sign Source has. We are merging with another sign company that I'm heading to a meeting on right now here over in Opelika. So if you need any signage work done from design, print production to installation, Sign Source can help you with that. 256-825-0197. And Lee Apparel, it's like the faucet turned on. It's the norm. You get close to February, everybody starts making their orders for the spring. And we had that happen a couple of days ago. And it's been very, very busy on the corporate end. So from custom screen printing, embroidery, promotional products, give us a call. DTF Printing, we can handle that. 256-825-0197. Thank you, Faith. I'll be tuning in.
Say, buddy. Welcome in, Faith. And we got some comments rolling in this morning, and we got I'm going to get your take, obviously, on the game last night as well, and then the games around the SEC. We didn't really talk about those, and then previewing the game you're going to be going to on Saturday. So, hey, I'm not saying you have any pressure on you, Faith, but Auburn's undefeated right now, so you can't go to Oxford and bring back a big OL with you.
I know. It'll be bad if that's the case.
Jerron talked about Ja'Kai, just to kind of follow up on that last comment that we were talking about, and I want your take on that too. I like Howard, but there's no time to babysit that dude. I want to see players playing team ball, ready to win a championship. And look, I agree with Randy. I think that at some point in time, we've heard all this. Okay, he's young and he's transitioning. Now at this point, kind of what you want to be on this team and how you want to mesh with this team, or if you don't want to mesh with this team. So I don't think I'm going to disagree with Randy. I don't think we've seen the last of him. I think this may be the last opportunity for him. Okay, because as we head down the stretch, what if I'm Bruce and I don't know what the conversation was? I'm like, all right, get it out of your dadgum system, man. If you need to go over there and pout about it, whatever. But when you come back this time, you need to be ready to go, and you need to be dialed in, and you need to be bought in to what we're doing here as a program. And if you're not, then maybe we need to figure something else out. So I don't know when we'll see him back. We may see him Saturday on the road. But, again, he may sit a few more games. I do like the conversation that Stephen Pearl said on the interview he had earlier in the week, that they went around the room and he recognized his down, the things that he doesn't do well, and maybe he adjusts that. So we'll see how that all plays out. But kind of your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to see anybody on your team acting like a little baby, a little child. I think especially as, fans, and you obviously want to see everybody on your team excel and do well and everything. I would like to see him play. I would. But I also don't want, if he goes out there and he screws up, or people try to get in his head like the way they do with Chad. I don't want to see him pitch a little fit or do something stupid that's going to put the game in jeopardy or something like that. You know what I mean?
Right.
But the only way to be able to see if he's going to be able to do that is see his actions off the court during a big game. And if he's not proving himself there, he's not going to prove himself on the court when the game matters. So I would like to see him play, but also, I agree. I think he needs to find his spot on the team and see if he wants to stay and work to continue to be on the number one team.
Well, guess how you get more minutes? You buy in, and when you get an opportunity, you go out there and you bust your rear end and you do everything you possibly can to show the coach, I've got to be in the game more.
I wanted to talk about it because I saw y'all were talking about it earlier, was that Jaheim Hudson, he was only in there for 9 minutes last night, but he went 3 for 3,
Right,
and 1 for 1 on his 3-pointers.
and guess what the talk is right now? Got to get that guy in there a little bit more.
Why wouldn't you want him
Quality
in there?
bench player, quality depth. You know, he's being talked about more than Ja'Kai Howard is right now. And look, without a doubt, Ja'Kai is a better athlete, a better player as far as dynamic and what he brings. But maybe the effort for Jaheim far outweighs what Ja'Kai's putting on the floor, and that's what's going to win out. And you know, you look at Jeff's comment. Didn't think we would see JP again. I thought I was seeing things.
I told my dad, he goes, "What? Where?" I was like,
Yeah.
"That's him."
Yeah, we were in a text thread, a bunch of us, and I put Pegues with the big eye emoji, and somebody said, I think Justin said, he went, was he in the game? I'm like, yeah, briefly, but we were struggling from a guards situation, and you know the odd thing is that even in cleanup minutes, we haven't seen JP in the game, and then all of a sudden on the road against LSU, when we're not playing good offensively, you look up and he's in the game. It's like, I don't know why that happened. I don't know what message that was being sent, or if Bruce thought, man, this is a great opportunity to see if JP could step up and really kind of get out of this funk. And, you know, he never shot the ball. He didn't really contribute. He only was in there 3 minutes, so he was gone pretty quick. And again, I didn't think we'd see him again, but we'll see. Maybe that was the start of trying to work him in again. I think Bruce talked about building depth and continuing to get quality depth off the bench because you're going to have some of those guys in March when it comes down the stretch. So he said, do you think we'll ever see the orange uniforms this season? I mean, I don't know how Bruce and the team decide what they want to wear. I mean, obviously dark colors on the road and usually white at home, but you do see the orange. We used to wear the orange a good bit.
I would like to see orange.
It would be cool. I mean, I remember when we used to wear orange a pretty good bit, and it was fine. PJ said, can it be impossible how Auburn's basketball is winning games? Can they go help the football team to win football games this year? As an Auburn fan, I'm disappointed how the season has been. We'll talk some football here in just a little bit, PJ. Yeah, look, we're all disappointed. We've been talking about that ad nauseum for the last 4 years. It's not what we're used to here at Auburn. And you know, the recruiting's there, so we know we're getting players, but you got to see some results, and that's kind of what we've been talking about. But we'll talk about some football here in just a little bit because there are some things I want to get into, Faith, about that.
The last thing I'll say about Ja'Kai Howard is that I think he needs to play the game that the coaches want him to play and not his own.
Well, of course.
I think that's probably, I mean, Jaheim Hudson, I think he proved that, you know, he's able to play a good game. And we talked about this yesterday of not playing selfishly. And I
earn
think
yourself more minutes. Go earn yourself more minutes.
But there's a difference between not being selfish in that and you know,
that's the thing I think that makes me more upset right now about him being one of the 2 dynamic freshmen that we brought in this class is that, man, he is a high flyer. He is an emotional player. He could spark a run in a game with some type of unbelievable dunk, but it's all about it's AAU style mentality basketball. I'm going to stand in the corner and they're either going to kick it to me and I'm going to try to one-on-one a guy to the basket and try to posterize him, or I'm just going to stand around and watch everybody else. And you can't do that. I mean, you are costing your team because you're basically playing with 4 guys on the floor. You're basically playing 4 versus 5 at that point, and Bruce is not going to tolerate a guy that's not going to play defense. Just ain't going to do it, man. And
I
I
don't think
don't
you
care.
should.
No, well, not. I mean, exactly. And again, that's the thing that makes me so upset is that if he were buying in, there's no telling where he'd be right now on this team, how many minutes he'd be getting and the rotation. But I think right now he's more of a liability than he is an asset. And so that's why you see where he's been relegated to, and it's the bench. And hopefully that changes. Justin said, I wonder if the orange unis will come out for February 15th. Could do that on the road against Alabama. That might be a good time to bust those out. And then, of course, there's that old adage, you bring them out and you lose. Everybody goes, well, put those back in the closet for another year. So, but you could see those orange unis come out against somebody like that. Don't think you'll see it this weekend against Ole Miss.
I don't think I want to see him for the Alabama game.
You don't want to see him for Alabama.
I don't think so. I know I want to see him, but I don't think I want to see him for that.
I want to see him for that one because, again, if we lose, you're going to see him go back in the closet for sure because everybody's going to blame it if we lost on the orange uniforms. 2 more games last night. Alabama in a scrappy game, lucky to survive on the road, just like all of us are most of the time against a good Mississippi State team. And I don't know if Mississippi State could have screwed up the last minute of that game any worse than they screwed it up. They missed the layup. They turned it over. Alabama missed, 3 free throws. Couldn't get the dadgum rebound. I mean, they had chance after chance after chance to tie or win the game. And they just said, look, we don't want to win this game. And it was wild. It was a wild finish, but Chris Youngblood for them played well. But Josh Hubbard, man, and I've told everybody, and we saw him last year, man, he had 38 points last night. So a big performance for him that kind of went by the wayside because they lost the game. And then, of course, Ole Miss knocked off Texas 72-69. So that was the other 2 games last night in the SEC.
Yeah, Mississippi State came out of the gates hot.
They did.
That was like the beginning of that game. I was watching it and I just sat there and I was like, oh my gosh, is Alabama going to lose? I was like, the way that they are playing, and their arena was loud. Oh my gosh.
That place is the hump can be tough, man.
That was crazy. I was like, wow, it is so, I mean, the gamecasters were like talking so loud and I could still hear everybody screaming. I was like, this is great. I love this.
Yeah, no doubt. Again,
it would have been nice to see them pull out.
Yeah, we were all hoping. No doubt about it, but it didn't happen. And so we move forward. Auburn, again, has to turn the page, Faith, on a big win on the road. We talk about all the deficiencies. Broome had another good night. Obviously, 20-plus points again. It's kind of the norm for him, even a less than 100% Janai Broome. But we scored 87 points, and Chad Baker struggled. Our guards, for the most part, outside of Miles Kelly, struggled scoring the basketball, but you still are putting up 87 points, which is outstanding. It's great to see that you can go on the road and not play your best, because there's a lot of teams that go on the road and when they play their best, they can't even get a win. So
it doesn't feel like we scored 87 points.
It never did last night, Faith. We talked about it, everybody that was watching the game here. I said, this is the most dull, boring, almost 20-point win that I can remember. I mean, and it's, again, you kind of got lulled in, and you can take it as a knock against LSU. They're just not good. They're just not a good basketball team. And they don't have a lot of talent on that team. Again, you can, if there's somebody that's an LSU fan, I'm just saying what reality is if you're watching. Your team is 1-6 in the league for a reason. You're just not very good. And you can take a team that has a roster like Auburn, and you can go down there, and the first 15 minutes of that game were terrible for Auburn. Let's be honest. If Auburn had played that way on the road against Florida or even Tennessee or Alabama or Kentucky, it'd probably be down 15 or 16 points going into the locker room. Instead, you had the lead. So, again, when you play some of the bottom feeders of the league, that's what you get. So
it felt like a trap game.
It did.
The first, when we were 0-7, like
0 for 9. 0 for
yeah.
9.
I looked at my dad. I said,
"Well, we were one of our first 10, and we had 9 offensive rebounds." I don't know if we looked at the stats and said, "Hey, look, guys, we need to go out there and we need to get our offensive rebounding numbers up." I was like,
I will say we were swatting the ball once it hit the glass or the rim, and I haven't seen us have that many offensive rebounds like that in.
But that's the upsetting thing is we couldn't make it work. We couldn't make it count.
I think the stat of that was bad.
I would rather have buckets than offensive rebounds.
I think so.
When you're having a bunch of offensive rebounds means you're not scoring the basketball.
And we couldn't score them half of the time off of the rebound that we got.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt. That was the issue. Let's look at the updated standings. Of course, Auburn #1 at 7-0. By the way, 19-1 ties a record for the best 20-game start in program history. So that's great. I even had the little graphic that I pulled up for that, Faith, that I had right out of the gate this morning for everybody. So we like to show those graphics. But, yeah, the best 20-game start for Auburn in program history ties the mark there. So another milestone for this team, and the continue to hit marks that we hope we continue to make marks. We talked about this the other day. I hope that another first for us is that we go to the national championship game, and then we go win the national championship game. That would be a great pair first for this program. Alabama is just a half game behind Auburn. That's at 7-1. Then you got Missouri and Florida at 5-2. You got A&M, Mississippi State Ole Miss at 5-3. Auburn's next opponent. Vanderbilt and Kentucky at 4-3. Tennessee and Mississippi State at 4-4. Then you got Georgia and Texas at 3-5. Oklahoma at 2-5. LSU and Arkansas at 1-6, and lowly South Carolina down at the bottom at 0-8. So that's the standings. Again, we've navigated 7 games unscathed. Now we've got a stretch. Let's just be honest. It'll be the toughest stretch we've had in SEC play. Justin said we're not only 19-1, but look at the quad 1 wins. I think that was number 12. We're lapping the field. They said that on the broadcast last night. We're almost lapping the field in quad 1 wins more than anybody else in the country. We're almost doubling up the next one too. So again, just continuing to dominate and play at an unbelievable level. But if you look at the next few games, Faith, as we head into the month of February, we open up on the road with Ole Miss, and Ole Miss is number 23 in the country. This will be another opportunity at another quad 1. It's like almost every single night that you go out, it's an opportunity for a quad 1 win in this league.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, going to the Pavilion will be definitely it'll be a tough road game, I think, for sure.
Oh, no, it's no doubt. It's going to be.
That is going to be, and I mean,
everybody gets up for the number 1 team in the country. When you're the number 1
you and I
team,
were texting too last night during some of the Ole Miss game, and
right.
I mean, I would like to see them start slow. I'd
like to see them finish. I'd like to see them finish slow too.
Yeah,
with less points than us.
I'm hoping it'll be a slow game. I mean, I feel like most of their home games have really come down to the last 3 minutes, or even
they've had some help in there. They had lost 3 in a row, by the way.
Yeah,
they going into that one last night, and they were able to fend off Texas, but they were very close to losing 4 in a row. And then I was like, well, when you're following your team and your team's about to play a team, you kind of look at what's going on with a trend, and you're like, well, do you want them to lose another one and be 0-4 in their last 4, or do you want them to go ahead and snap this so they're not trying to, and you can play into all that kind of junk, and it's just for fans. But again, you know what you're going to go into. They're going to give us their best effort. We're going to get their best shot, and that's what happens when you're number one. And that's what you want. You want to be the hunted. You don't want to be the hunter. You want to be the one that everybody's trying to get. Then Auburn will return on Tuesday and play Oklahoma at home. So that's a very obviously winnable game at home. And then they'll welcome in Florida next Saturday. So this Saturday on the road at Ole Miss, and then Florida, which to me and you, I think you and I both have said, this is the scariest team to us. And I don't think it's a good matchup for us. I mean, when you look at their team and you look at our team, I don't think it's a really good matchup at all. But we'll see. I mean, if you look at the way too early matchup predictor, they've got Auburn at 80%. I'm a little bit more skeptical of that than I am what ESPN has for the matchup predictor there. But then you have Vanderbilt on the road on Tuesday, the 11th, and then you finish this next group of 6 games on the road 2 Saturdays from now against Alabama on the 15th. And that is the next 6 games that you have. And obviously Alabama, Florida, Ole Miss, and of course Vanderbilt's only one place behind Ole Miss. And maybe Lyndon can use reverse psychology. I know she's been using the mojo to help Vanderbilt win, but when Auburn rolls into town, she's going to be wearing the orange and blue, no doubt, even though her husband works for Vanderbilt. Lyndon, if you're watching, I'm just speaking on your behalf, okay? I'm just telling you, you need to wear orange and blue in there. So we need to have the reverse psychology in Memorial Coliseum and need you to pull out a win. Faith, you got a task at Ole Miss to win, and Lyndon, you got a task in Nashville to win. So I'm not putting a lot of pressure on y'all or anything.
Hey, I mean, I just hope I make it out of the pavilion alive. Whether we win or lose, it's going to be
the Auburn Blitz fans will come and mob the pavilion if anything happens to you, Faith. Let me just tell you.
No, I seriously, if anyone's going to be there, please. I need somebody else to be cheering. I need somebody else to give me an AU when we get a free throw or anything.
So you're going to be sitting in the student section, right?
Yeah, I'll be on the student section.
All right, so we need you to wear.
I'm going to be wearing my Auburn hat. So if you guys see me in my Auburn hat that I wore the other day.
I was going to say, why don't you just wear the most obnoxious safety orange shirt that you can find? That way, when they pan the crowd, it's like, there's Faith.
There she is. I'll wear an orange shirt. So
like a little dot right in the middle of the Ole Miss student section. It's
there's going to be red everywhere.
I know it. Well, the orange might not pop with all that red. You might.
I'll make sure it pops. Don't worry.
There you go.
I'll make
You'll
sure
probably just stand out on that. So, let's talk about some of our great partners here on the program real quick, because we couldn't do it without them. Sensa Green, for air that's cool and clean, call on Sensa Green. They're the carrier experts here in the state of Alabama. So make sure you call on them. They're saving people thousands of dollars with these new installations, new units. They'll save you money on your power bill. So they're just saving you money all over the place. And who don't want to save money right now? So if you need a new heating and air unit, call on Sensa Green. They will take care of you. And Scout Program Management, our good friends there, man, nobody does it better than them. I know they specialize in educational projects, but if you got a big project going on, construction project, and you're in the planning stages, call on Scout. They have hired professionals. They're a consulting firm. They know how all this works. They're going to help you save money in the process, and they're going to handle it from start to finish, from the pre-planning stage all the way to the time you get the keys to your facility. Scout Program Management is going to take care of you. So call on Scout Program Management. They're located in Birmingham, but they've got projects going on all over the place. They got one going on right here in Alexander City. We're about a year away from opening the brand new Benjamin Russell High School here. And it is a beautiful, beautiful facility, and excited about that. I did see something the other day, and it's sad to see. And I talked to the guys. They didn't have this project, but the athletic facility at Gulf Shores High School that they're building collapsed. And I don't know. I don't think anybody got hurt. I don't think anybody was on site when it happened, but man, that's a massive setback. I mean, they just have to scrap the whole thing, start over.
Oh my
It
God.
looks like from a structure standpoint. So, man, just a rough deal. And so, again, it pays to have somebody that's on top of what you're doing, like Scout, to make sure everything is going the right way and all. So, all right, so we got some other comments coming in. Kyle said, if Turtle can give you 7 points and 4 boards in 9 minutes, look, I agree, Kyle. Kudos to that guy. He's the guy that nobody ever talks about. And, when he gets called on, I know he came in the Georgia game and made some really good plays. It's like he's sitting on the bench. He's the ultimate team player, but when he needs to be in the game, he contributes, man. He brings something to the table. And again, that's why you see him getting the nod coming off the bench and Ja'Kai sitting over there, because Ja'Kai is no question a better athlete and more dynamic and what everybody likes to see. I mean, look at all the highlight dunks he's already had this year, and he hasn't played very much. I mean, Jakeem's not going to do that, but Jaheim's not going to do that, but he will give you a bunch of hustle. And when you hustle like he does and you clean up boards and you're out there playing your rear end off on defense, you make the most of your 9 minutes. And guess what happens when you get 9 minutes and you're that productive? You might get 15 minutes next game, and you might continue to work your way up. And it goes back to what we were talking about, Faith. If Ja'Kai Howard wants to be a part of this team, he'll make the most of his minutes when he gets his minutes. He'll go out there and he may not score, but he may get it done on the defensive side of the ball, or he may cause some turnovers, or he may get a few key rebounds, and he may have an assist or two. All that adds up to wins. It's not just about how many points you can score and how good you can look scoring them. That doesn't count. You don't hang banners for posterizing dunks. You hang banners because you win games.
Right. And you've seen, we talked about it some yesterday, Denver Jones, how his defense has gone crazy all year. And there's been some games where he's scored a lot of points, and then there's been some games that he's hasn't scored as much. But
No.
I mean, his defense has been outstanding, and I feel like he's proven himself more and more on both sides of the court too. And I mean,
Right.
he's not in any jeopardy for any of his playing time.
No, he's not. Again, you earn your playing time, and I like what we're seeing. And Coach Pearl talked about building that bench depth and get these guys. You got to start building this thing. I mean, you're coming down the stretch now. You're almost to the halfway point of the SEC schedule. We talked about bracket predictions yesterday. I won't go back into that. I do want to shift over to football for a little bit, because look, Andy Staples at On 3, and we talk about all this like everybody does, but he came out with a 2025. You don't want your coach on this list, but unfortunately, Hugh Freeze is on this list, and you say maybe, and there's some I don't agree with. Okay, one being Billy Napier.
I don't think so.
I mean, Billy Napier, maybe if things had continued to go south at the beginning of last year, I would have said, okay, yeah, this thing ain't working out. And, if you'll remember, Scott Strickland in Florida came out early in the year when Florida was struggling and said, look, Billy Napier's our guy, and we're sticking with him, and he ain't going nowhere next year. So y'all just – I don't know if that was the turning point that gave Billy Napier the confidence. A lot of times that's the kiss of death, right? When the admin comes out and goes, hey, we're behind our guy, he's not going anywhere. It's almost like, well, crap, you just pretty much said he's fired. But that didn't happen. It looked like Billy Napier and the team said, okay, man, let's go out there. Our administration is going to be patient with us. We're going to get this done. And when they made the change to DJ Lagway, man, they turned the corner. And Florida ended as good as anybody in the country. They were playing as good a football as anybody. I think they ended up, winning 8 games, Faith? So, I mean, I don't see Billy Napier being on the hot seat. I mean, he's not going to be fired next year unless it were just some type of monumental collapse. I mean, he's gonna be fine. Now, Hugh Freeze, I definitely think he's warranted being on this list. Do I like seeing Auburn's head football coach on a 2025 college football hot seat list? No, I don't. I know you don't either. But let's be honest about it. The results on the field have been less than impressive. Now, the recruiting's unbelievable, but you don't hang banners for recruiting either. You know, it's kind of like dunks in basketball. They're great. They get the crowd energized. It's all good. But at the end of the day, it's one play. We got to start winning football games. And, you know, it's unfortunate to see Coach Freeze on this list. But, I mean, the last 2 years have kind of warranted his name being on this list.
I would have thought we would have seen Brian Kelly's name on this list.
Yeah, I can't believe it. I would
just
definitely have Brian Kelly on there before I had Billy Napier.
100%. I think I agree with you about his last season, Billy Napier's. I think his last season really I would have thought 2 years ago he would have been fired. I really would have. I was like, this is not.
Hey, they open up again. I mean, they go to Clemson this year. You know, they've lost the last 2 opening games. This past year, they go out to Vegas and lose to USC, and that wasn't a very good USC team. And so, you know, they go to Clemson.
The end of the season bought him some time, and I don't think
it did.
I would have put Brian Kelly on there instead of Billy, but
no, I'm with you. Sam Pittman. You know, this gets brought up. It was brought up last year, and I hate to say this, but who's Arkansas going to go get? I mean, Sam Pittman, to me, I think is doing about as good a job as you can do at Arkansas right now. And if there's an Arkansas fan watching this thing right now, they may go, "You crazy. We can be better." And look, they've got a lot of money in Arkansas. I mean, and we're in the NIL age, and you're in the transfer portal age. You can go get players, but I mean, you can say Sam Pittman's on the hot seat, and maybe he is, but I mean, I don't know the hell you're going to get if you're Arkansas. Again, there's programs in this league right now, and people can say, well, y'all are one of them because you've lost 4 years in a row, but no, Auburn can turn it around. Auburn absolutely can turn it around. The recruiting classes show that.
And this is going to be his first year of his own recruits.
Right.
And I mean, I still think that he got handed a bad hand of cards with how Brian Harsin left the program.
Well, it was beyond bad. Doesn't even begin to describe how Brian Harsin left this program.
But I think if he doesn't prove himself after this season, where he's got his own recruits,
what's it take, Faith? Just tell me. 8 wins? Does it take 8 wins this year?
I would like to see 8 wins.
Not what you would like to see. What is it going to take for Bruce Pearl? Can Bruce come over and coach a little bit?
He can stay.
What will it take for Hugh Freeze to not lose his job this year? Let's be honest. If it's 7-5, I know people. That's the line. That's the borderline because everybody's going to like. Well, he's making progress. You know, how do you look in those 5 losses and what happened in those games? Were you just beat because another team just played better than you, or did you screw it up like we did 4 or 5 games this year? Now let's be honest.
That's what I was going to say.
We lost 4 games this year.
Right.
We lost 4 games. It wasn't the other team beat us. We just lost the dang game because we played so terribly.
I think that honestly, the way we come out playing Baylor and our first couple games, sure. I think that will honestly determine whether or not he's going to stay. And now I don't think he's going to get fired. I don't think in the beginning of the season or anything like that. But I do think it's going to have to be at least 8 games that he's going to have to win to stay, because
7's not good enough.
7's not good enough. But also, you're 100% right. We lost those games. We were in the game.
Oh, absolutely.
We were supposed to win.
We were in all of them. We were in all of them. Matthew said he thinks we need to win 9 or 10. He thinks with this schedule, and it's not.
Then you want him to be fired if that's the case, because realistically, I don't see us winning 9 or 10.
All right, so I'm about to put you on the spot. All right, the Sawyer said Harsin definitely sabotaged Auburn. There's no doubt. I don't know what happened there. I mean, again, Twilight Zone. Between COVID and 2020, and then Brian Harsin coming on board, I don't know. The last 4 years, I feel like I've been living in a cartoon. Okay, with everything, and you can read into all that, whatever you want to read into it. All right, so let's go down the list, and it's obviously here at the end of January, and we're about to make some predictions on football record. It's just for fun. Don't get bent out of shape, everybody. We can talk about this, and then we're going to do it again probably next month, and then the next month, and this thing could change. But I want to see what Faith, and I have not asked her this, everybody. This is purely off the cuff, and so Faith can attest to that. She's not going to lie to you out there. I didn't tell her that we were going to go try to make some football predictions this morning, but I want to see what you truly think just off the cuff. And I'm just going to name the team. We're going to go down the list, and I just want you to say win or loss. Okay. All right. So Auburn travels to Baylor first. Win or loss?
Win.
Okay. 1-0. Ball State at home. That shouldn't take you very long.
Win.
2-0. South Alabama comes in right after that.
Win.
3-0. All right. September 20th, outstanding day, by the way. That's my birthday. But anyway, September 20th, we go to Oklahoma. 3-0. How do we come out of Norman, Oklahoma? That's Jackson Arnold returning to Oklahoma for the first time as maybe the starting quarterback, should be the starting quarterback for Auburn. So we're 3-0 right now. What do we do at Oklahoma? Lose?
I think we might.
I felt your vibe coming through the screen.
Yeah.
So, all right, we're going to say we lose to Oklahoma. That's going to suck. So we're 3-1. It's not going to be a very good birthday for me, by the way.
Yeah, no.
All right, so we go to Texas A&M. I'm going to that game this year. So I'm excited. I've been to Kyle Field before. I haven't been to College Station. So that'll be the road trip for us this year. Go to Texas A&M. It was a crazy game this year at home. Unbelievable game. So we're sitting at 3-1 according to you right now. Do we get the win at Texas A&M?
No.
Oh, no. 3-2. Okay. Not going good. All right. And then we have a week off, and then we go and welcome in the Georgia Bulldogs. So we're 3-2 right now. Are we about to be 3-3?
Yeah.
3-3 in our first 6. Okay. All right. Not good. Then it's at Missouri. No, it's at home. We got Missouri coming in right after that on the 18th of October. We're sitting at 3-3 right now, Faith. What is that one? Better be a W.
That's always it always brings me back to, I think, my freshman year when we or maybe it was my sophomore year as a parents' weekend, and we almost lost that game.
Almost lost. We missed. I've never seen a team get handed a win like we were handed that game. I don't know. Missouri is still wondering how they lost that game, and I'm still wondering how we won it. So I mean,
that was insane.
So we're 3-3. Do we get back over 500 with a win against Missouri?
Yeah.
Okay, 4-3.
I like that.
Then we got to travel to Arkansas. Better be a win.
I think we'll win it.
Okay. All right. So 5-3 after Arkansas. Got Kentucky coming in. Not a very good Kentucky team. We beat them on the road last year. 6-3. Vanderbilt in Nashville with Diego Pavia. We ain't beat him yet. I'm going to let you make the call. Sure, this is your prediction.
We're yet to beat him. Like, I don't.
Well, it's got to be a first time for everything.
But it's also away, so.
It's okay. It's Vanderbilt. We'll have more fans than they will. Everybody does. I don't care how good Vanderbilt's playing.
All right. I'll say this is the year because I'm no longer in school, so he can't beat me anymore.
Okay.
So I'll say we win.
All right. So 7. So we've won 4 games in a row now after going 3-3. So there's 7-3. All right.
Mercer comes in.
I mean, come on.
When?
That's 8. And then Alabama. At home. Could if we're 8-3, and we're on that winning streak, I mean, who knows? But at worst, okay, let's say if we lose the game, before you make your prediction, we're 8-4.
8-4.
And that's a loss to Georgia and Alabama. And who else did we say? You had us losing to Texas A&M and Oklahoma. You had us on a three-game losing streak right there. Oklahoma, Texas A&M, and Georgia. Do you know how brutal this show's going to be during that stretch? Do you know what everybody's going to be talking about if we are 3-3 with wins over Baylor, Ball State, and South Alabama, and we've got losses to Oklahoma, Texas A&M, and Georgia? Everybody's going to say, same old, aren't they?
They enter the SEC play and they can't win.
So 3-3.
That's what I'm going to say.
And then you got us going on a streak. Win Missouri, win Arkansas, win Kentucky, win Vanderbilt, win Mercer, and then you go into the Iron Bowl. So this thing could be ebb and flow, but if we were to lose to Alabama, it's 8-4. But if you win it, you're 9-3. And just what happens if you go beat Oklahoma or you beat Texas A&M on the road? What happens there? Or you happen to upset Georgia at home? Now you're looking at 10 wins or 9 wins. But we kind of all think it's still going to settle around that same line, 7-5.
I just think I've been so disappointed so many years that
I know it.
I think I want to set the bar so low because you have to exceed it because I'm so tired of losing. And
Matthew's right. This is not some overbearing schedule. I'm just going to be honest. I mean, Oklahoma, what were they this year? I mean, we blew that. That was terrible.
That was awful. You were at that game, weren't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we were texting during that game.
Freaking awful, man. 21-10 going into the fourth quarter. We had the ball driving, and we screwed that whole thing. Just had to find a way to lose. All right?
We wanted to lose is what it felt like.
Yeah, it's kind of like we're waiting for something bad to happen. That's what we've got to break out of. But he's right. This is not a daunting schedule, but there is a stretch early after those first 3 games.
Well, and what Kyle said, if he's 3-3 through his first 6 games of his third year.
Yeah, he's out of here. He thinks he's out of here. But if we go on a win streak, we could win 5 in a row going into the Iron Bowl. And you could be sitting there at 8 wins. You could be 8-3 with losses on the road to Texas A&M, Oklahoma, and Georgia at home. And I don't think we're going to be favored in any of those games. We won't be favored on the road against Oklahoma, I don't think. Depends on how Oklahoma's season's going at that point. Texas A&M, look, I'm going out there. I hope we win the game. And we've actually played well out there. Okay?
They're going to literally be on their revenge tour because we stormed the field after beating them.
True, but that was last
Why
year.
would they sit there and be like, oh, we let them storm the field. We weren't even that good this year. Like, we're going to be so much better now. And
because that's Texas A&M. They're the biggest bunch of underachievers, I think, that we've had in this league. They go roll into every year with outside of us with all these expectations. They spend all this money and crap, and they get 0 results too. So they're kind of in the same boat with us. Look, I think that's a winnable game. And if we're a program that's trying to get back, I'm going to go against you on that. I'm going to say we'll win the game. I'm going to say we'll have a tougher time winning in Oklahoma.
Because you're going to it?
Well, no, I'm not saying that. I don't have anything to do with it. If anything, that probably brings us bad luck. But I just think we can go win out there because we've had success there. And I think if we're a program trying to go in the right direction, they're not much better than us. When you look at their roster, they're not some better team than us. We just proved it this year, even though we beat them at home. They're just they're not some daunting team.
You know what's crazy? What you just said is that if anything, I'll go there and we'll lose. Like, that's bringing the bad luck.
Right.
That is so sad that every Auburn fan
every one of us feel that
they are the reason
exactly
that we're going to go and lose.
And that's bad.
That's
bad.
What I'm saying.
So, Brett, don't do it. Revert back to your rant. That's what I do. Kyle, I'm trying to be positive right now. But anyway, we've kind of overtalked that a little bit. All right, so drum roll, you hadn't finished. Do we beat Alabama? Or Justin said he's the reason we lost today. We all have these stories. We were all our good buddy Andy that hosts the Auburn Blitz show at noon. We were giving him hell because he went to Georgia this year and we played like crap and we looked like we were going to lose. And I mean, so anytime any of us ever go on the road, we're like, it's your fault, man. If we lose,
don't say that. I'm going on the road.
Well, that's what I'm saying, Faith. I'm not putting.
I'm going to be the reason we win.
Well, see, reverse all of this negative thinking. Be the reason that we win, not the reason we lose. Right?
Well, look for me. I'm going to be wearing bright orange.
Bright orange. You need to have a bright orange. You don't wear your hat, but you need bright orange.
Justin,
Lyndon's the only good luck.
Lyndon's the only good luck.
See, you got something to prove Saturday, Faith.
I'll prove it.
Don't you stormed the court and you got out there to tell the bench.
I was going to say I'm going to storm it.
You cannot. He said, hopefully you too, Faith, with a smiley face.
I hope so.
Yeah, I have, no pun intended, all the faith in the world in you. So it's kind of cheesy, right?
Hey,
all right. But again, looking forward to Saturday. You know, we always flip the page real quick. I'm getting distracted.
Yeah,
do we beat Alabama or not?
Let's upset them at home.
I love it. Hey, who knows what their season will be at that point? And look, talk about a guy that could possibly have crept into that list of being on the hot seat was Kalen DeBoer. Even though he went, what did he go 9-4? They finished 9-4. Yes.
Yeah, I think so.
All right. So still, when was the last time Alabama lost 4 games? I mean, been a while.
Yeah, I remember seeing
all the way back 2007.
Yeah.
So, I mean, bottom line is, at that point in time in the season, we'll already know what teams we both have. And them coming into Jordan-Hare, I mean, there's a lot of people going, if they bring in some average Alabama team, we better beat them. So it may not be an upset at that point, depending on how it is. But we're going to say right now, but based on the last several years, they're going to be favored. It would be an upset, but you're going to say we win it. So that would get us to – would that get us to 8-4 based on your – or would that be 9-3?
I think that's
9-3 because we were 8. Yeah.
We only had a 3.
That's right.
3 loss streak.
You had that 3 loss streak, and then you got us winning out, man. That might be playoff worthy. 9-3, right on the edge. I think you beat Alabama and you're on a streak like that.
I think we have to see how some of the other teams are performing too I think we beat.
This is just our all way too early.
Way too early.
And that's your predictions, by the way. Those aren't mine.
Will we do yours tomorrow?
We can do mine tomorrow.
Okay.
We can do mine tomorrow.
We don't think about it too much. I was put on the spot.
That's right. I put you on the spot. I won't think about it. I'm not going to think about it until we get back on the air tomorrow. So, all right. We have talked a lot this morning, a lot to talk about, and there's a lot of people watching, and a lot of people have commented, and we appreciate it so much. Again, want to thank our sponsors out there, Sensa Green, for Air That's Cool and Clean, Scout Program Management, Bunkers. Can't do it without any of these. Lee Apparel and Sign Source, really, really good partners here on the podcast. Faith, always good.
It's always a good time here.
Absolutely.
Can't complain.
Absolutely. So just don't think about the pressure building up for Saturday too much today.
I'm going to try not to.
You got all the people here are behind you. You got all that
Justin
vibe.
Seems to be teetering.
I think you convince him. I think you can get him over the hump.
When we win, that'll be convincing.
That's all he'll need. So kind of like Jakai, go prove it, right?
There you go.
All right, guys, that's going to wrap it up for this edition of the Auburn Blitz podcast. We'll be on at noon again for the show. Don't ever forget that. We are on every day at noon. Justin's laughing at you, by the way. Be on at noon, Andy and Jim, and make sure you tune them in. And then Faith and I will be back with you tomorrow here at 8:00 for another episode of the Auburn Blitz podcast. Have a great day, everybody. go take advantage of this beautiful weather. It's turning back toward the weather we like. So take advantage of it. Get outside, do something positive, make a difference in somebody's life, and War Eagle.
War Eagle.